Hello everyone. Today we will be studying about the good governance, the relationship between democracy and governance, what good governance is, factors, models of good governance, and the role of the state in governance, role of citizens in governance, some legal, institutional and legal arrangements like Citizens Charter, Right to Information Act, Consumer Protection Act, E-Governance, Public Service Delivery, Lokpal and Lokayukta. So first understand this the governance process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented is governance. Features of this governance are this people centric, enhanced democracy, greater decentralization, more grassroots activism, more accountability, more responsibility, greater transparency. Then this yes, the good governance. Good governance can be referred as an effective and efficient process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented or not implemented, giving the amelioration of citizens as the topmost priority. The characteristics of good governance. These are the characteristics. These are 8 pillars of good governance according to the United Nations Development Program (UNDP) and the Second Administrative Reforms Commission of India. There are 8 core characteristics of good governance. Participation. The participative is inclusive engagement of all citizens, men, women, vulnerable groups in decision making directly or through representatives. Rule of law. Fair legal frameworks enforced impartially by an independent judiciary and honest police force. This then transparency, free access of information, free access to information for those affected by decisions with open, understandable processes. Responsive institution and processes serve all the stakeholders within a reasonable time frame. Consensus oriented. These are consensus oriented mediation of diverse interests to reach a broad consensus on what is best for the entire community. Equity and inclusiveness, ensuring all members, particularly for the most vulnerable, feel a stake in society and have opportunities for well-being. Effective and efficient processes produced results that meet society's needs while making the best use of resources to get the maximum output from utilizing the resources. Accountability. Accountables. Government, private sector and civil society organizations are answerable to the public. Some key factors affecting good governance. Political will, commitment of leaders to uphold the rule of law and ethical standards, administrative reforms, re-engineering processes, digitizing services, e-governance and reducing bureaucracy delays. Active civil society media, a vigilant public and free press to hold institutions accountable. Economic stability, sound macroeconomic policies that allow for transparent management of resources. Decentralization, empowering local grassroots levels governance. Example, Panchayati Raj. The additional features of good governance are social justice, smart government, more space for community-based organization, sustainable development, socially responsible market economy. Minimum, this is a model of governance. citizen-centric administration, shifting from governance as a government as a ruler to government as a service provider, focusing on citizen satisfaction. E-governance using information and communication technology to provide transparent, fast, reliable services. Example: passport seva, minimum government, maximum government, less bureaucracy and better bureaucracy. Streamlining bureaucracy to act as a facilitator rather than a controller. Reducing discretionary powers, doing with absolute rules and regulations, appropriate accountability mechanisms, focus on goals as opposed to rules, bureaucracy as an effective facilitator. Bureaucracy. Participatory model, utilizing social audits. Example, Magnarega, now VBG Ramji, to let citizens directly monitor expenditures. Magnera now replaced by VBG Ramji. Importance of governance. Sustainable development. It is essential for achieving the sustainable development goals. Particularly goal 16. Peace, justice and strong institutions. Corruption reduction. Transparent and accountable system reduce the space for misuse of power. Economic prosperity. Stable, fair policies attract investment and boost the economy. Social justice ensures that welfare funds reach the intended beneficiaries and reduce inequality. Building public trust. Fair, responsive decisions increase citizen confidence in state institutions. And the conclusion is government is an ideal that is difficult to achieve in its totality, but it remains essential pursuit for any modern nation state. It is merely an administrative framework, but a necessary prerequisite for social justice and inclusive growth. By focusing on transparency, accountability, and citizen participation, good governance transforms developmental aid into real progress. As often emphasized, government is a file, but governance is life. Good governance ensures that this life is secure, equitable, and dignified for all. People's participation advantage: more information at all the stages of project, greater social acceptance and sense of ownership, better vigilance, generates social capital, generates additional resources, sustainable project management. Prerequisites: social capital, degree of equality with respect to wealth and political power, institutional environment. Challenges are caste barriers, class barriers, gender inequality, lack of capacity, political constraint. And relationship, what is the relationship? Relationship between democracy and governance. Democracy is defined as a system of government where power is vested in the people, exercised either directly or through elected representatives, characterized by free elections, the rule of law, and civil liberties. Good governance is a broader dynamic concept that refers to the efficient, transparent, accountable, and inclusive management of public resources for the benefit of society. While democracy is a type of regime, good governance is characteristics of how that regime operates. The relationship is that democracy provides the structural framework, checks and balances, participation essential for achieving the normative goals of good governance. The relationship between democracy and good governance. Democracy is a foundation for good governance, accountability, and answerability. In a democracy, representatives are accountable to the people through regular, free, and fair elections. This accountability ensures that the government is responsible and responsive to the needs of the electorate rather than authoritarian desires. Transparency and participation. Democracy allows for freedom of speech and an independent press, which are critical for transparency. A key trait of good governance: citizen participation from voting to the right to information. Act. In countries like India, it strengthens the accountability of the governing bodies. Rule of law. Democracy acts to protect the fundamental rights of individuals and minorities. preventing the abuse of authority and ensuring the law applies equality to all, a core component of good governance. Good governance as a tool for strengthening democracy, legitimacy, and trust. Good governance seen in efficient public service delivery, healthcare infrastructure legitimize the democratic system. When government are effective, public trust increases, reducing civic unrest and reinforcing democratic practices. Inclusiveness and equity. Good governance ensures that equitable distribution of resources across all sectors of society, preventing the marginalization of vulnerable groups and fostering social cohesion. Challenges and nuances in the relationship. Non-linear relationship. Empirical studies show that the transition from a dictatorship to a young democracy, electoral democracy, does not immediately guarantee good governance. It can sometimes lead to increased corruption during the early stages of transition. Democratic deficiency. Simple holding elections does not ensure good governance if institutions are weak or corrupt. For good governance to thrive, democracy must be dependent through active participation, effective judicial system, and transparency. Rather than merely procedural voting, efficiency and versus participation. While democracy prioritizes participation, it may sometimes be slower in a decision making compared to authoritarian regimes. However, democratic governance is more sustainable in the long run. Conclusion: the democracy and the good governance are complementary and interconnected rather than identical. Will democracy provides the political form, participation, election, and good governance provides the administrative substance, accountability, transparency. A mature democracy generally acts as a facilitator for good governance, ensuring that power is used to fulfill the aspirations of the people. Ultimately, good governance is a key to ensuring the legitimacy of democracy. Will democracy is necessary for good governance to be fully accountable and transparent to citizens. Democratic governance. Democratic governance, which emphasizes accountability, transparency, and citizen participation, is essential for a diverse nation like India. It serves as a mechanism to manage diverse social interests, ensure equality, and fulfill the socio-economic aspirations of its vast population. While India is the world's largest democracy, the true implementation of democratic governance remains a journey in progress, balancing constitutional ideals with practical hurdles. Need for democratic governance. The need for robust democratic governance arises from the need for social justice, inclusive development, and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. It is required to limit the misuse of power, cut down on corruption, and protect the rights of minorities and marginalized groups. Furthermore, it ensures that welfare reaches the common person, moving beyond mere electoral democracies to a participatory one. Constitutional and legal provisions. The Indian Constitution provides a comprehensive framework establishing India as a sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic. Key provisions include fundamental rights. Part 3 guarantees equality, freedom, and protection of life and dignity. Directive principles aims to establish social and economic democracy. Directive principle part 4. Independent institutions. The Election Commission ensures free and fair election. Will and independent judiciary protects rights. Decentralization. The 73rd and 74th Amendment established the 73rd and 74th Amendments established the third tier of the government, Panchayati Raj and municipalities, facilitating grassroots participation. Transparency. The Right to Information Act 2005 enhances accountability. Challenges to implementation. Despite these provisions, significant challenges hinder true democratic governance. Criminalization of politics. Many representatives face criminal charges affecting the quality of representation. Socioeconomic inequalities. Poverty and illiteracy limit the ability of many citizens to meaningfully participate. Caste and communalism. Social division often influence politics, undermining secular and equality principles. institutional weaknesses, corruption in inefficient bureaucracy, and a large backlog of court cases lead to poor service delivery and delayed justice. Democratic governance in India has demonstrated resilience through regular election and institutions building, however, systematic issues and of inequality, corruption, and political misuse of power persist. For democracy to move from a minimal electoral process to a substantive, vibrant one, it is necessary to strengthen local governance, increase digital literacy, and foster a culture of constitutional morality among citizens and leaders alike. Environment governance in India has evolved from reactive regulations to proactive sustainable management, particularly after ratifying the Paris Agreement in 2016. As a developing nation, highly vulnerable to climate change, India requires robust governance to balance rapid economic growth with environmental protection. The Paris Agreement acts as a catalyst, urging India to meet ambitious nationally determined contributions while striving for net zero emissions by 2070. Need and provisions. The necessity for stringent governance stems from high air pollution, water scarcity, and biodiversity loss. To meet Paris commitments, India updated its NDC in 2022, pledging to reduce the emissions intensity of GDP by 15% by 2030 and achieve 50% cumulative for non-fossil fuel power capacity by 2030. Key provisions include the Environment Protection Act 1986, the National Action Plan on Climate Change NAPCC, and the promotion of renewable energy through initiatives like the International Solar Alliance. Further, the 2024 Biological Diversity Rules and Eco-Mark rules strengthen the regulatory framework. Challenges to implementation. Despite the framework, implementation faces significant challenges. Balancing development with conservation is difficult, as seen in conflicts regarding land acquisition for green projects, weak enforcement at local level, inadequate capacity of state pollution control boards, and low public participation hinder progress. Furthermore, the financial gap to transition towards green technology is substantial and coal dependence remains high for energy scarcity, risking a carbon intensive lock-in. Conclusion. India has made remarkable strides early achieving its non-fossil energy targets, yet challenges in enforcement and finance persists. Effective environmental governance demands not only robust policy but also technological advancements, just transition strategies for coal-dependent communities, and active citizen participation to make sustainable development a reality. And education governance. Education governance is in India encompasses the structures, policies, and processes that regulate, manage, and deliver education across the nation. As a critical catalyst for socio-economic mobility, efficient governance is essential to ensure quality, equity, and accessibility. With the introduction of the National Education Policy (NEP 2020), India has moved toward a more decentralized, learner-centric approach, shifting away from rigid bureaucratic and input and centric models. Need and provision. Effective governance is needed to bridge the urban-rural quality gap, foster innovation, and address poor learning outcomes, where nearly 75% of class 3 students struggle with basic texts. Provisionally, the Indian Constitution holds education on the concurrent list, empowering both center and states to legislate. Key legal provisions include Article 21A, making education a fundamental right for 6 to 14 years old children, and the Rights to Education (RTE Act 2009). The NEP 2020 proposes a light but tight regulatory framework to reduce compliance burden, promote institutional autonomy, and replace fragmented regulations with a single authority. Challenges to implementation. Despite strong policies, implementation faces significant hurdles. Funding and resources. While 6% of GDP is desired, but public spending remains around 4%, leading to infrastructure deficits in rural schools. Bureaucracy and resistance. Decentralized bureaucratic inertia persists with resistance at local level to NEP reforms like school consolidation, quality and capacity, shortages of qualified teachers, and poor professional development hamper learning outcomes. Digital device. Unequal access to technology makes digital initiatives like Diksha hard to implement uniformly. Coordination issues. Dual responsibility often causes lack of coordination between center and state, creating disparities. Conclusion is education governance in India is transitioning from central to empowerment, with constitutional and policy provisions after a roadmap. Overcoming financial, logistical, and bureaucratic challenges is crucial. Successful implementation requires leveraging technology, improving teacher quality, and ensuring cooperative federalism to turn the vision of an equitable, high quality education system into reality. Health governance. Health governance in India refers to the framework, policies, and management strategies implemented by the government to ensure equitable, affordable, and quality healthcare for its population. Given India's immense population and diverse disease burden ranging from infectious disease to non-communicable lifestyle diseases, HFSS, high fat, sugar, salt, and obesity, effective health governance is not just a service but a fundamental constitutional necessity to protect the right to life. Article 21. Need for health governance. Strong governance is needed to bridge the stark urban-rural divide, where 70% of the population lives in rural areas, but 73% of hospital beds are in urban centers. Furthermore, with 60% out of pocket expenditure, citizens face high financial risk, necessities regulatory oversight to prevent exploitation by the largely unregulated private sectors, which hurdles 75% of health services. Provision and Provisions and initiatives. India's health governance framework is anchored by the National Health Policy 2017, aiming to increase public health expenditure to 2.5% of GDP. Major provisions include National Health Mission, strengthening primary and secondary healthcare. Ayushman Bharat, PMJ, providing health insurance coverage for tertiary care to vulnerable families. Health and wellness centers focusing on comprehensive primary health care. Digital initiatives. The Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission aims to integrate health records. Challenges in implementation. Despite these provisions, implementation faces several hurdles. Inadequate financing. Public health spending remains low at roughly 1.7 to 1.8% of GDP, far below the promised 2.5%. Infrastructure deficit, insufficient primary health centers, and poor staff retention in rural areas, regulatory gaps, weak regulation of private players, leading to high costs and unnecessary procedures. Uneven performance. States like Kerala have robust systems, while many in the north lag behind, indicating poor coordination. Conclusion. Health governance in India has evolved from purely curative vertical programs to rights based approaches. However, reducing out of pocket expenditure and ensuring equitable access remains challenging. To transition from policy formulation to effective implementation, India must focus on increased public investment, robust regulation, and strengthening primary healthcare systems. We discussed democrat- democratic environment, education, health governance. The role of state in governance. Social audit shifts accountability from purely financial audits, checking for embezzlement, to social audits, checking for social impact and community benefits. In India, Section 17 of the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, MAGNERA 2005, formally recognized social audits. However, the success of these audits depend on the willingness of the state government to create an independent structure, facilitate audits, and most importantly, act on the findings. Without a strong state level governance, social audit risks becoming a routine form filling exercise. Role of state governance. The role of state governance in social audit is twofold: policy formulation, setting the rules and inform setting the policy formulation, setting the rules, and enforcement, acting on the outcomes. Role in policy formulation and institutionalization, setting up independent social audit units. Rule 4 of the MAGNERA Audit of Schemes Rules 2011 mandates that every state must establish a dedicated independent social audit unit. State governance is responsible for registering this as autonomous societies. Society for Social Audit Accountability and Transparency. In Andhra Pradesh, to ensure they are free from interference by implementing agencies formulating state specific rules and protocols beyond national guidelines, states like Meghalaya, through the Meghalaya Social Audit Act 2017, have enacted legislation to make social audit to part of the regular government practice. State governments define the operational manuals, audit frequency, example at least once every 6 months, and procedures for public hearings. Jan Sunwai. Capacity building and training. State SAUs are tasked with recruitment and training district level and village level resource persons. VRPs, they formulate training curricula to empower local community members to verify records, conduct site visits, and understand their entitlement. Role of information enforcement and implementation. Ensuring access to information, RTI. A crucial role of the state is to enforce that all records, muster rolls, bills, vouchers are made available to the social audit unit 15 days prior to the audit. State governments through the district officials must ensure the implementing agency does not hinder the process. Conducting public hearings. The state ensures that audit findings are publicly read out in the Gram Sabha in local languages. The presence of government officials at these hearings is mandatory, allowing beneficiaries to directly question them regarding anomalies. Okay, I am explaining last 2 units. Which Lokpal and Lokayukta. It is mandatory, allowing beneficiary to directly question them regarding anomalies. Action taken reports and punitive action. The true measure of state enforcement is the follow-up. State governance is responsible for ensuring that action taken reports ATR are prepared and published online. This includes recovering misappropriated funds and initiating disciplinary or criminal action against officials found guilty by the audit. Technological integration. States are tasked with setting up a management information system MIS to track the entire process from scheduling audit to uploading audit findings and ATR, ensuring transparency in the follow-up action. The state government acts as a primary enabler of social audit by providing the legal, financial, and administrative backing needed to make the process effective. While the community identifies the issues, the state must take corrective action. Where states are proactive, example Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, social audits have significantly reduced leakages and increased public trust. Conversely, a lack of political will leads to weak enforcement, rendering the process ineffective. Therefore, the institutionalization of social audit units and a rigid adherence to the action taken protocol are the most crucial contributions of state governance to ensure accountability. Now, role of citizens. Role of state, role of citizens in governance. Good governance is not merely the responsibility of the government. It is a that is it is a collaborative effort between the state and its citizens. We government are responsible for providing services, transparency, and accountability. Good governance is realized only when citizens actively participate in the governance processes, fostering a culture of responsibility and civic duty. Civic duty. It requires a shift from a top-down administrative model to a participatory bottom-up approach, where citizens are treated as owners, not passive recipients. Civic culture is the foundation of a functional democracy. It refers to the shared values, attitudes, and behaviors of citizens that promote democratic processes, vigilance, and awareness. Citizens must be aware of their rights, right to information, and duties to prevent abuse of power. Tolerance and solidarity. A good civic culture encourages respect for diversity and opinion and solidarity among citizens, which is crucial for a stable society. Low abiding attitude, respecting laws, paying taxes, and caring for public property are essential civic duties that contribute to the development of the country. Citizen participation. Citizen participation is a means to achieve better governance, shifting from a representative to a participatory democracy. Active engagement participation is not limited to voting. It includes attending town hall meetings, joining resident associations, and engaging in policy debates. Co-production of services. Citizens are partners with the government in providing services such as waste segregation and urban management, which improves public service delivery. Feedback and suggestion. Providing constructive feedback on public policies allow the government to be more responsible to local needs. Social audit. Social audit is a process where the citizens, especially the beneficiary of a project, participate in the audit of non-financial activities, measuring the social performance of a scheme. Ensuring accountability. Social audits allow citizens to verify official records against ground realities, making government officials answerable. Transparency. It is a powerful tool to curb corruption, especially in the rural grassroots governance, such as in the implementation of McNarega. Monitoring and evaluation. It provides a platform for citizens to evaluate the effectiveness of public spending and service delivery, ensuring resources and the intended beneficiary. Conclusion. In conclusion, the responsibilities of citizens in good governance, anchored in a strong civic culture, active participation, and the use of social audits, are essential for a mature, functioning democracy. A vigilant and engaged citizenry ensures that the government remains transparent, accountable, and responsive to the needs of the community. By taking ownership of their responsibility, citizens work alongside the state to build a fair, equitable, and efficient society. Now, citizen charter. Citizen charter is a declarative commitment of an organization. Declaration of a commitment of an organization towards its clients in terms of qualitative and temporal entitlements. Basic objective to empower the citizen in relation to the public service delivery. Basic principles: quality, improving the quality of services, accountability, choice and consultation wherever possible. Standards specify what to expect and how to act if standards are not met. Value for the taxpayers' money. Accountability, individuals and organization. Transparency, rules and procedures, schemes and grievances. Elements of Indian Citizen Charters Program. Vision and mission statement. Details of business transacted by the organization. Details of clients served. Details of services provided to each client group. Details of grievance redressal machinery and how to access it. Additional elements like details of compensation, if any, expectations from clients. Problems in Indian Charter Program. Problem in Indian Charter Program. Problem of bureaucratic mindset. Limited consultation. No penal provisions. Citizens are hardly aware of this program. Standards of citizen charter are sometimes too lax or too strict. Some citizen charters are too detailed, some are too brief. Many charters does not provide details of names and address of grievances, redressal functionaries. Lack of incentivization, either at individual level or the organizational level. In many departments, charter exercise got delayed as existing brochures and manuals were taken to be citizen charter. Need of senior citizens, disabled, and other such categories have not been considered in citizen charter. Review and updated of citizen charter has been very poor. Inadequate devolution of powers to street level bureaucracy to enable them to deliver upon citizen charter commitments. Technical jargons used in citizen charter. Citizen charter often not prepared in vernacular language. Second, Administrative Reforms Commission recommendations. 1. Size doesn't fit all. Prepare separate charter for each independent unit and each independent service. Widest possible consultation. Commit what you can deliver. Internal structures and process should be reformed to bring them in line with the charter commitments. An appropriate grievance redressal mechanism. Periodic evaluation including end user feedback. Holding officers accountable for results. Other suggestions: hand holding exercise with respect to first charter, concentrated efforts to generate awareness, persistent efforts to bring out attitudinal change in public services, involvement of user groups and staff should be made mandatory. Charter initiatives should have a built-in mechanism for monitoring, evaluation, and review, preferably through an outside agency. Some departments made their own task difficult by trying to cover all services simultaneously under their charter. Incentivize the program at both organizational and individual level, showcasing and replicating best practices. Simplified language and charter shouldn't be too detailed. Each organization should prepare a master plan for formulation and implementation of citizen charter over a period of 5 years and develop appropriate budgetary projections for it. Bottom framework. Define your services and identify your clients. Set standard and norms for each service. Develop capability to meet the set standards. Perform to achieve the standards. Monitor performance against the set standards. Evaluate impact through an independent mechanism. Continuous improvement based on monitoring and evaluation. The citizen charter and citizen declaration are synonyms often related with this. The Citizen Charter is a document of commitments made by a government organization to its client group, identifying the services provided, quality, standards, and timelines for delivery. It represents a people's first approach, transforming the citizen from a passive recipient to an active stakeholder. First adopted in UK in 1991. The core idea is that service providers should set their own standards to boost morale while being accountable to the public. Aims and objectives. The main objective of the charter initiative is to transform the cultural of administration from a traditional bureaucratic approach to a responsive, service-oriented one. Improvement of quality. Ensuring public services meet stipulated quality benchmarks. Accountability is establishing individual and organizational responsibility for service failure. Transparency. Informing citizens about rules, procedures, and schemes. Redressal mechanism. Providing a clear time-bound avenue to resolve complaints. Citizen empowerment. Making service user-friendly and reducing the scope for corruption. Core principles. The charter is based on 6 core principles: quality, standards, value for money, transparency, accountability, and choice. Standards specifically define what to expect and how to act if standards are not met. Choice. Provide options where possible for services. Value. Ensure efficient use of taxpayers' money. Conclusion. Will the Citizen Charter is a powerful tool to bridge the gap between citizens and